Albedo is the next 5-star character that's going to hit the banners in just a few days. He is a Geo character using a one-handed sword. Is Albedo worth it? Should you pull for him? Let's find out. The first thing we're going to look at, Albedo's base stats. They are extremely similar to Zhongli in terms of stats that he's going to acquire from leveling up. He has a little bit less base hit points at level 90 than Zhongli will have. His base attack is identical at 251 at level 90. He will have more defense, which is a good thing for Albedo, as some of his abilities will be scaling with defense. You will also have a total of 28.8% of Geo damage at level 90, which is also identical to Zhongli. One of my concerns for Albedo is the scaling on his basic attacks. I personally feel that the scaling is a little bit low when compared to other characters, but then again, this is going to highly depend on how fast his attack speed is and his attack patterns compared to other characters. But still, seeing these values, it makes me think a little bit like Zhongli that he's probably going to shine more in a burst DPS role, which will have a support role more like, and is not going to play a main DPS role like a lot of people wanted Zhongli to play. Now for Albedo's E ability, Solar Satoma. Basically, once you're going to place that on the ground, it's going to do AoE Geo damage on appearance. When enemies near the Solar Satoma take damage, they will generate a Transient Blossom, which is going to deal AoE Geo damage. This also scales off Albedo's defense. However, do note that this can only appear once every 2 seconds. Transient Blossom damage, so basically this effect whenever enemies take damage within that field, is going to deal, a small amount of damage plus scaling on the depth. If you have a character on top of the Solar Satoma, it is going to be accumulating Geo power to form a crystallized platform, and is also going to lift your character to a certain height, which might be useful, a little bit like Venti, to reach some places. You can only have one of those platforms at the same time. Solar Satoma is considered a Geo construct, so that might be useful for some form of synergy with Zhongli. Also, you can see here that the duration and cooldown is not going to evolve at all by leveling up this skill. Looking at the scaling on the stats, it's hard to say how good this ability is going to be without actually testing it. We'll have to wait until the character comes out. It can give some form of hope knowing that there's 2 different types of scaling. As for Albedo's Elemental Burst, it is going to have a big surge of Geo crystals in front of him that's going to do a lot of AoE Geo damage. From what we see here is there's going to be 2 forms of damage coming from this ability. The first is just going to be the Elemental Burst damage, which will scale up to almost 900% at level 15 of the talent. And there will also be the Fatal Blossoms damage, which are going to do a decent amount of percentage damage as well. And you can have up to 7 of them that will come if you use your burst after your E ability has been used. So we'll have to see more on what comes, but what we can already see is that the cooldown and energy cost of this ability are identical to Zhongli's, and these values are slightly higher than Zhongli's if you take into consideration that there's going to be 7 Fatal Blossoms. So we can expect this ult to do more damage than Zhongli's most likely in a best case scenario where all Fatal Blossoms are well positioned and hit everything, as you just won't have the Petrify effect from Zhongli's Meteor basically, but it should be a good amount of burst Geo damage. So for Albedo's talents, Transient Blossoms generated by Solar Satoma deal 25% more damage to enemies whose HPs is below 50%. The blossoms that can pop from this E ability whenever you use it and there's an enemy nearby that takes damage. And the other one is using your ultimate, increase the elemental mastery of nearby party members by 125 for 10 seconds. So this is quite similar to Sucrose in a way, and it would be quite interesting to see if there's some form of synergy we can do in between those 2. For the constellation, Transient Blossoms generated by Albedo's E ability regenerate 1.2 energy for Albedo. So for the second constellation, Transient Blossoms generated by the E ability grant Albedo Fatal Reckoning for 30 seconds. Each stack of Fatal Reckoning increase damage by 30% off Albedo's defense, so you'll definitely want to build your Albedo with a high amount of defense, especially if you have the second constellation. And unleashing your ultimate is also going to consume all of these stacks and increase the damage dealt by the Tectonic Tide and Fatal Blossoms. Now these last for 30 seconds, so you'll probably try to have to, get 4 stacks and then pop this. Now for Albedo's fourth constellation, Solar Isotoma, so basically the ability, increase plunging attack damage by 30% for active party members within the AoE. So it could be interesting, I guess, at some point if you have a Xiao, for example, and you make him go up the platform and you have a plunge build Xiao maybe. Personally, I don't see myself using this too much. And for the last constellation, if party members within the AoE are protected by a shield created by Crystallize, Solar Isotoma increase their damage by 17%. Now while this sounds kind of nice on paper, 6 constellations constellation is going to be pretty uncommon for players, so you know, it is what it is. Now do keep in mind that all of the information in this video are unconfirmed, and we will have to wait the official release of the character to see if some of these aspects, you know, remain the same exactly or if they are changed. Alright guys, thank you for watching this quick video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Have a good day.